Hey everybody, Sean here, and today we're going to continue with the series about 2 ways to share the gospel, law to the proud and grace to the humble. If you haven't seen those videos, you can watch them in the playlist, How to Share the Gospel. So how do you share the gospel with a family member, or even a close friend? Should be easy because you know each other so well. But that can often be the biggest obstacle, and because of that close relationship, it's possible for them to feel like you're judging them. Even though you're explaining how God sees sin, it's often taken as you viewing them as these terrible sinners. We've been talking about how to share with all sorts of people, but family may just be the hardest of all. Obviously, the changed life we are living will be our biggest testimony. But as far as actually sharing the gospel, a simple tip is to share using yourself as an example. I remember being on a fishing trip with my dad, who's not a Christian, and saw this as a great time to share with him. And once again, with our current situation, it's a perfect time to share with family. Rather than giving a gospel tract to a stranger to open up conversation, it's easier to say something like, "Hey Dad, do you ever think about what's going to happen after we die? I mean, if we died today, do you think we'd go to heaven, or you would go to heaven?" And of course they could have one of many answers, but the key point is to get back to using the law to plant that seed of truth based on God's perfection. You can say, "I've always thought that compared to many people in the world, for the most part, I'm a good person. But when I looked at God's perfect standard of good, I realized that I don't quite make the grade. When I look at the 10 Commandments, things like, 'Thou shalt not lie,' I realize that I'm guilty of that one big time. What about you? Have you ever told a lie?" And they'll probably say yes. So that would make us both liars in God's eyes. I know when I was young, I stole a package of caps from the store, and I don't know how many pens from work I've taken home in the past. Technically, even that is considered stealing because they're the company's pens. Did you ever do anything like that? Once again, they'll probably say yes, and may even share a story from their past. So regardless of the value, that would make us thieves in God's eyes. And here's the one that really got me. Jesus said that with God's perfect standard of good, even looking at someone and thinking a lustful or dirty thought is the same as adultery to God. I blew that one big time. How about you? And my dad laughed and said, "Yep." So if God judges people by the 10 Commandments, in our case, he would see us as lying, adulterous thieves, and that's only 3 of the 10. We'd be guilty. So do you think we'd go to heaven or hell? And at this point, they might say heaven, hell, or give you one of the objections we've dealt with in past videos. But if they do say hell, you can continue with the message of salvation, use the courtroom example, and plant that seed of truth. But the key when sharing with family is to involve yourself in your testimony so that it doesn't come across as you judging them. I'll leave the link to the Way of the Master episode for this that goes into a lot more detail. But as always, leave your thoughts and comments below, and until next time, take care and God bless.